I want to say good morning to you all today on this great day. It's another great day and a great opportunity for us to come together, get together, and talk about more about these things we call your mental real estate. And man, you know what? It's another great one. It's another great day. It's another great opportunity. And I wanted to say good morning to all of you today as I come on in and just say a few words of your mentality and the mental real estate that you possess and what it means for you. Because today, we got some things to talk about, but it ain't gonna take long. So stay with me as we get ready to get this thing going today. But before I even get started, you already know I gotta ask you the question. How was your day? How was your weekend? Did you spend time with people that you love? And did you spend time with people that loved you back? Did you get an opportunity to do something you haven't done before? Because you know what? The thing that we do in mental real estate is helping people understand their perspective of thought and why it is so important to do the things that we do. Your Monday mental real estate doesn't stop there. But here's some things that we're talking about today, because we're not going to be before you long, is that I want to help people understand the gravity of mental real estate. Understanding your perspective of thought when we're talking about your positive and negative contributors to your mindset. And what does that mean for you? Absolutely, and I mean absolutely everything. So today, I'm wondering about a few things, but I'm taken back by some others. So today, we're going to get right into the life application, because the life application is what's important. How to apply what we've lived through, and how do we relate to others if we have no knowledge of what they're dealing with? Well, how do we connect with people that are going through certain things is listen, through the life applications. Because if you think back, most of the times that you can relate to what people are saying is because you can understand where they're coming from. You might have firsthand experience. You might have stories of your own. But the good thing about mental real estate is that we build through the perspective of thought. So today's no different as I get to this life application, because I can remember the stories of being told when I was a baby. I can remember the stories of being told when my brother was a child. I can remember those stories that I tell of my kids being those children. But do you remember those times? It's not that you would even remember, because you would actually be too young. But today I want to help you understand something, because I can remember those days of my mom telling me when I was a baby and I was learning how to walk. Now, y'all remember those days of being that, you may not remember, but those days of when you was the child, when you was the baby, somebody had to carry you. You remember those days of taking that first step and you would wobble and you didn't quite get your balance and you would fall over. They'd stand you back up and you take another step and you'd fall over. You remember those days? Even if you don't remember those days, you might remember those days of your children. And when I ask you if you remember those days, that's what I'm speaking of, because those times were precious, weren't they? But here's what I know, is that those times were precious when we picked them up and we would let them go and they would take those first steps, and those were some of the most important times. But how many of you still remember that first step? How many of you still remember that time and in that place when your child took that first step? How many of you understand that? But here's the thing. I can remember when it came to my kids, how I had to do that is because when they started taking those steps, it's funny because prior to what happened, prior to them taking that first step and you spending all that time teaching them how to take that first step, what happened? You had to carry them. You remember when they was born and you took them from the hospital and you had to carry them. You remember those times when you had to get them to the doctor's office and you had to carry them. You remember those times of, of the child being sick and they just needed to be cared for, and you had to do what? You had to carry them. Now it's funny because before they learned how to carry themselves, they had to be what? They had to be carried. Now that's funny because today's mental real estate is about helping you understand the perspective of thought. And today, have you been carried? And why was you carried? Because I can remember those days of my kids. And you know what? Here's the story, is that when I was with my mom, I can remember mom telling me, yeah, I can remember when you was young when I had to carry you. But you know, there was a time when you started to walk. Now, let me ask you the question, because what happened as a parent? What did you do when your children learned how to walk? Did you carry them? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, because mama, you rubbed off on me, is that when I can remember those times of my kids and teaching them how to walk, is that once they learned how to walk, It's something about when they began to take their first steps, guess what? They still needed to be what? Carried. Because they were still trying to figure out the term and balance of their life. They didn't understand what it meant to stand on these things we call legs and how to take those steps one in front of another so that they can make progress to get someplace else. Now, when they started taking those steps, I can remember those times of saying, okay, your legs are what? Getting stronger. Now, I can remember my mom telling me as I got older, your legs are getting stronger now. And I can remember those times when my mama would tell me about how I would come over to her once I learned how to walk, and I'm running through the house and I'm tearing up stuff. I'm trying to get to everything. But it's funny how when I started reaching up, it's something how we start reaching up. And you know what? And what happens is we become dependent on being carried. We become dependent on being carried. So when we reach up, we're expecting what? To be carried. Now, Monday Mental Real Estate is helping you understand something. Because as I continue to think about this, and I can continue to remember the story that mom gave me about when it was time for me to be carried, is that, listen, I learned at some point how to walk. So I went from being a baby to the adolescent, and as the adolescent began to learn how to what? Walk, he began to use his legs, and he began to be mobile. No, that's funny, because as I can remember those times when my mom would tell me how I would reach up, at some point when you begin to reach up, you're going to be what? Denied. Now, I know some people like to carry their kids a little farther than others. Some people like to carry their children a lot longer than others. Now, I done seen people carrying their kids 6, 7 years old and their shoes is getting their dress dirty. But I wish I was raised that way, but I wasn't. The fact of the matter is, what my mom told me when I reached up as I learned how to walk, she said to me, you should have never learned how to walk. Come on. What? Mama, what are you doing? So here's the thing. At some point in life, we learn how to walk. Now, as we learn how to walk, we also learn how to move. And as we learn how to move, we'll understand that not everything and everyone is going to carry us. But by definition, let me give it to you Monday Mental Real Estate today, is that by definition, carry, support, and move someone or something from one place to another. Very easy, very structured, right? Now, another thing in carrying, by definition, supporting the weight of. That's all I'm going to say. Supporting the weight of. Now, mental real estate helping you understand that perspective. Now, we're talking about carrying. Now, what I love about that is that we carry a lot, don't we? The lives that we live, we carry a lot. The things that we do, we seem to carry a lot. It's something how we thought that when we got done being carried and we was told that now you got to get on your feet and walk, because I am no longer, let me say this again, I am no longer going to what? Carry you. And now we're stuck with the realization that we have to carry ourselves. Now, mental real estate and knowing how to carry yourself is something that comes with the responsibility of knowing that these are the things that we now have the ability to create what we carry. Now, here's the thing that really baffles me, is because with all the things that we've done in our lives and all the places that we've gone to in our lives, when we talk about the word carry, we know we've been carried. We know somebody along the way has carried us. We know that the burdens of life have come upon our backs, and that we know that sometimes we have been weighed down, and it took somebody to carry us from one point to another. So just because we were carried as children doesn't mean that necessarily the responsibility of an adult cannot be carried. Now, let me say this. One of the most important things that we look over, because you're thinking I'm talking about actually being picked up and carried around. We did have a good talk about that, about when I was born and when I was taught and trained how to be walking, and now knowing that the knowledge of being carried is going to lead me to understand how to carry myself. That's all fun and dandy. But when we're talking about carry, let me ask you this question. What do you carry? What do you carry? Because I know there's a lot of things that I carry. And now that's not for you to have to post it and put it. It's for you to think about, because your mental real estate needs to know what you really carry. What goodness do you carry? What sour things do you carry? What mentality do you carry? What personality do you carry? But here's the thing. When I ask you the question, what do you carry? You can think of probably 5 things off the top that you carry that's most important to you. Because it's significant to know what we carry because of where we came from. Because at some point in your life, you're going to transition from being carried to now understanding how to be the carrier. Let me say that again. At some point in your life, I didn't say when you was a baby. At some point in your life, you're going to have to transition from being carried to understanding now you become the carrier. But let me ask you, what's the most important thing that you carry? Dare I say it may be the one thing that doesn't draw a lot of attention, but is a fact of the matter. And the one thing that we seem to carry the most that nobody rarely ever talks about, it may be discussed. I'm not going to forsake that one, but it may be discussed, but it's something that is rarely discussed and talked about. One of the most important things that you carry is your name. Your name. Now, why is your name so important? Because the fact of the matter is, you didn't choose it. You didn't pick it. You may have asked the question at some point later in life, why was I given my name? Or even asked the history of where my name comes from. Now that's funny because of all the things that we talked about that we're carrying, one of the most significant things that we carry, you can't put a dollar on it, is your name. Now, what does your name speak about you? What does your name say about you? What does your name demonstrate about you? Because if that's the most important thing, there has to be some value added to your name. You didn't pick it, but it has some value. You didn't guess this first name. I can remember people growing up telling me, and then listen, I was one of those people, because I'll be transparent with you. When I grew up, I knew my name was Michael, but guess what? I didn't know that till I got older. Why? Because they called me a name I could not stand, and they called me Mikey. Now, if y'all know, do not put this in the feed, but if y'all know in the 1970s what they used to do with that name, I couldn't stand Life cereal to save my life. Don't even repeat it. You might have a little chuckle, and that's okay. But I'm just letting you know that when it comes to your name, what does it say about you? Because the fact of the matter is, you still have to carry it. Now, your name was given to you. You didn't pick it. You didn't select it. But guess what? You're stuck with it. Now, why are you stuck with a name? But do we really realize the significance of the name? Because you know, like I do, if you don't, I'm going to enlighten you that the history behind the thing that we call the name that we have to carry, because one day we're going to be called by what? Our name. Can you imagine this? You don't like your name. Can you imagine this? You decide one day, I'm going to change my name. You decide one day, I don't want to be called by this name anymore. So you legally go and you change your name. And when you change your name, yes, it's going to be known. But it's also, remember to know that when you were born, your name was written in the book of life. Your name was written in the book of life. And if your name was written in the book of life and you are called by your name, did you hear what I said? Because you didn't get to pick it. But if you are called by your name, will you respond? Now, here's a heavy thing, because as I talk about the name, and it seems to be so significant, we still find ways to downplay the name. Yes, my name is Michael. But what y'all don't understand is that the handle that's on the back of it is called Free Land. My book is titled Free Your Land. Why is that? Because there's some significance to your name. Now, if your name carries the significance, then you gotta what? As they tell you, how are you going to live up to your name? That's funny, because you know what the reality is? People are saved and people are changed. Their lives are transformed. But when they talk about your name, it's handled on the back end of everything that you do. People are going to say, yes, I remember that guy, Michael. I can remember Wisham. I can remember Pete. I can remember Cassandra Collier. I can remember Carl Evans. But listen, the one thing they say when they describe this is funny, because when I tell you the value of your name, you think it's Pete. You think it's Cassandra? You think it's Carl? Do you really? Listen to this. Go somewhere that you really don't know a lot of people and have a conversation with a friend, and you say, you know what? I got an opportunity to talk to Pete today. And when you put out the name Pete, or you put out the name, just say Shannon. If you say that name, what are they going to say? If they have no direct understanding of who you're talking about, what do they say? They say, Pete who? Shannon who? Cassandra who? Now, why is it they're asking this? Because they don't understand the person you're talking about until you give them the name. So when you put Marrero, when you put Collier, when you put Evans, when you put Mitchell on the backside of your conversation, now they draw a level of understanding to the name. So how significant really is your name? Because your name is tied to history, and your name is tied to future. Your name is stuck in present, but it's tied to history, and it's tied to the future. Now, it's really significant because if you take time and think about it, you'll understand that life can be fickle at times. Life can be fickle and put you in a place at times that you really need a little bit more drawing of the understanding of what this name is all about. Because I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask to be here. I don't know really what my purpose is when I was a young man. But as I live and move around and do things differently, I begin to understand the concept of my name. Now, here's the thing. You may not like the person that you wanted, that gave you the name. You may not have a relationship with the person that gave you the name. You may not have an understanding of where your name even came from. There's a lot of things about your name you would love to change if you don't like it. Because I know people like this. And I'm not saying everyone. I'm just talking to those that it may apply. But when it comes to the thing that we call the name, ultimately, listen, we have to give credit to the one that gave the name, to give the name. We have to give and understand it. Listen, if your name was written in the book of life when it says when we were born, what should we call him? And you said Michael. Do I have the right? I didn't have the right to choose it. Somebody chose my name for me. Can you imagine God decided that his son's name is Jesus? Or we gave him the name Jesus. He was identified by God. But at the same time, when he when he hung there on the cross, he decided, I don't want to be called Jesus no more. Get me down from here. I'm changing my name to Jeffrey. Where would you be if he changed his name? Would it be the same? Would life actually happen the way that it does if he changed his name? So how significant is your name? Today is your day. Today is your time, because today it's not about me. It's your name that matters. It's your name that changes. It's your name that transforms. It's your name that is tied to the success. But it's also your name that is tied to our failures. To your failures, not mine. But it's something about how our name carves out the significance of our history, puts us in our present, and builds towards our future. Because it's your name one day that's going to be called. And guess what? Every one of us, every single one of us is going to answer that call when it comes to your name. Your name is special. Your name is tied. Your name is given. We didn't pick it. Your name was given. I know we're living in a different day and age where people decide and they go down to the courts and legally change this, legally change that. But let me ask you again. If you changed your name and when it was time to go and your name was etched in the book of life, your name that was given is called to you by him, would you respond? You don't have no choice. You're going when it's called anyhow. When it's time for roll call, you're going to line up. And when your name is called, you will speak, I am present. So allow your name to do what it's supposed to do for you. Be proud of your name. despite your ability of not understanding how you got it, despite the fact that you didn't pick it, despite the fact that it was selected for you, despite what you may think about where your name is supposed to be in this life, be proud of your name. Your name was a gift. And when the gift is given, you receive the gift with joyfulness. When your name is given, you receive the gift with gladness. You receive it because it was given to you. It may be a burden at times and feel heavy. But my yoke is light and my burden is easy. Read the Bible, it'll tell you. So God bless you all today, helping you understand more about your name and the consistency that you build every single day because of your name. So allow me to celebrate you in the name that you have today, because your name has the weight that it needs, and your name carries what it needs to have, and your name is going to help transform and change lives. Because listen, we don't have to do everything, but you got to do something. I say it all the time, the opportunity to do something is greater than the reward for doing nothing. Remember your name. Be proud of it, because it came from someplace you didn't even create. You didn't even understand, and you didn't even ask for it. So if you have your name and you know it's there and you know the history of that name, and do your research. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. You will find there were people that earned the right to give you your name and give it back to where the names come from, because you know one day roll call is coming and you will be selected and you will be that person to be called in that number. And at that time, your name is going to be very, very important. Stay tuned, y'all. Mental Real Estate moving on, but enjoy your day. Have a safe week. And remember how significant the name is that you carry. Let me shout some people out. Carl Evans, my brother, what's going on? I see you. My boy all the way in Kansas City. I appreciate Killer Carl. I remember Carl. That guy was a heck of a boxer, y'all. Big time. Big time. His name is still very important. God bless you, Carl. Thank you so much. Shannon Mitchell, thank you for being in here. Dr. Cassandra Collier, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your moment. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sacrificing for me. My good friend, Pete Morero, how are you, sir? I appreciate you. The man of the day, Pete Morrell. Continue to do what you do to help people serve the humanity and help people understand more about God every day. And you know what? And let me say, last but not least, charge it to the head, not the heart. Brenda Redmond, my mama, I love you. Thank you for being in here. I always love your support. And listen, please be safe getting home. Touch base, because you know we got to catch up. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And you guys have a great day and a safe week, and be blessed on today. But one thing for sure, two things for certain. Never forget your name. God bless you all. We'll talk soon. Take care, guys. I got to go. Bye-bye.